Hey, Rebecca, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Sorry, it
Okay.
takes forever to figure out muting on a phone.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't
Um,
see anything. You're blanked out, I think.
yeah, well, I am blanked out. I'm remote. So yeah, I'm not chairing the meeting, and I just tried to call my stand-in chair, Pat, but I didn't get any response from her. So I suspect somebody at the schoolhouse is flailing with that awful system.
It's coming now? Yeah, we got it. Okay. It wasn't working there for a while. So I'm not attention. Yeah.
Never operated this computer before, so I just tried to make sure that we don't have any comments. Rebecca is online and Ed Holland is on. All right. The chair requested for a number of meetings to have some sheriff's presence. And we do have a report as far as money that we're spending on our sheriff. And this is, I don't know how many meetings have been going on now where we have had no one here. So it would be really, really nice to get this taken care of. Okay.
Well, I'm a little shocked that we only have 2 months of data when we could have had 3 months. And possibly 4.
It's all true. It's all true. So, public works update. Well, we're in a really fabulous situation today because we do have someone from the town representing public works. We have a new local engineer who has joined our team. And, his name is Robert Burt. Please, we'd love to have you, join our meeting.
So it's the committee members and public that may be present online. Thank you.
Uh, One of the things that has come to mind are the crosswalks. And we are hoping that, we have questions about the crosswalks, we have concerns about the crosswalks. Maybe, at this point, you could give us an update as far as where the crosswalks are, and then we can open up the discussion to the beacons and the operational sections of crosswalks.
Yeah, that's it. So first of all, I'd like to contextualize the history of the project so you all understand what was previously going on and what is currently going on, so we can work on a path forward and kind of contextualize the factual elements of the crosswalks. So we've heard a lot from the public, and I empathize with a lot of the concerns and frustrations that have been presented. And I've heard that. I spent a lot of time researching this and very recent to the town. Spent a lot of time researching the history there. We've heard what you thought a second about this. It's important to provide something that increases the safety, and the original historical context of why these crosswalks were looked to be installed was due to some concerns over my understanding is the previous children may have been hit by cars in the past, and there might have been some accidents that happened. I'd like to provide the following as not a statement of my opinion, but my understanding of the background on the crosswalks. My understanding is that circa 2020, approximately 5 years ago, the town council approved a pedestrian safety study. This included review of potential locations of accidents and some historical data on accidents and where pedestrians have been hit by cars. The pedestrian safety study recommended installation of the rapid rectangular flashing beacons, otherwise known as the safety crosswalks. To the best of my knowledge. It's my understanding that in accordance with the recommendations of this study and discussions with both town council and BPTS at the time, the rapid rectangular flashing beacon project was intended to move forward, and the town sought grant funding with San Mateo County Transportation Authority in order to secure additional funding for the projects. My understanding was around that time, circa 2020 to approximately 2022, a grant funding agreement utilizing funding provided by San Mateo County Transit Authority, Transportation Authority, was drafted. And then the agreement to obtain funding for the safety beacon crosswalks located at these two locations was put in place and then reviewed by town council and approved. This agreement has specific scheduling deadlines and expiration dates in which the town is supposed to finish these crosswalks in order to maintain funding, in order to keep the funding noted in the contractual agreements. My understanding is that this agreement was reviewed and approved by town council at the time, circa 2022. Upon approval and signing of this agreement, circa 2022, with the San Mateo County Transportation Authority, the project proceeded forward. This includes various elements, including initial review, design, compliance with the codes and regulations of record at the time, circa 2022, along with various regulations at federal level and state level, which we must meet, including Americans with Disability Act, commonly referred to as ADA, public right-of-way accessibility guidelines, commonly referred to as PRO-WAG, and the manual on uniform traffic control devices. We'll discuss some of the guidelines and restrictions put in place for this installation. We must follow these guidelines put in place at the federal and state level, and myself and the other members and consultants in the town are doing our best to work with the regulations which we must follow. To be clear, we do not have leeway to alter or change federal or state requirements, but we're doing the best we can to work with the town and public to make sure everyone's happy and remains safe. Additionally, in order to maintain the existing agreement that was entered into in 2022, and maintain funding for all the work that has currently been done, the project is required to be finished by the written expiration date. The current expiration date is May 15th. We are seeking a second extension if possible. We're on a fairly tight time. For record, the current date is May 7th. The restrictions which we must follow in accordance with the guidelines that are beyond our control, my control, is that the rapid rectangular flashing beacons, these two crosswalks, must be provided with an audible locator tone. That is typically a small clicking noise that occurs, I believe, every approximately 3 seconds. I'm not positive on the actual one, but every 2 seconds. Thank you, Paul. Every 2 seconds, there must be a small clicking noise. That tone must be audible from 6 to 12 feet away. The tone should adjust to ambient noise. The tone should be up to 6 decibels above ambient conditions. For reference, typical ambient noise in a suburban area is between 40 to 50 decibels. A very quiet dishwasher, household dishwasher, is approximately 42 decibels. Dishwashers range, a household dishwasher will range from approximately 40 to 60 decibels in noise. At an average audible noise level of 40 to 50 decibels, we would expect the locator tone to be set to 42.5 to 55 decibels. This will adjust for the ambient noise, meaning that as it gets quieter, the audible tone will also get quieter. If a car is passing close by, the audible tone may briefly make 1 click that's louder, and then adjust lower.
Excuse me. Just to confirm, just to confirm the radius of the sound, you're talking about 12 feet? Was that the area that's going to be affected by the sound?
Yes, the regulations say that it must be audible from 6 to 12 feet. this is obviously a little bit subjective.
May I ask when those regulations came into place? Because I know a lot of fairly recent installations do not feature the sound enunciation that is a continuous process, only enunciations on demand of the use of the crosswalk.
That's not really on.
We're going to finish the presentation and we'll get your comments.
We'll discuss the locator tone. Additionally, there must be a speech and this is anticipated to repeat approximately 2 times when the button is pressed. While we're restricted on what we can do, we're trying to do our best to mitigate the public's concerns while still maintaining a safe condition for people that may require an audible tone, including the audibly and visually impaired, as is required by federal and state law. Some of the things that we are currently looking to potentially implement include both myself and others being present on site during the time in which the tone is adjusted, to make sure it's audible from 6 to 12 feet, but to try to address concerns the public may have as far as disruptions to the local neighborhood. We're looking to set the decibel level to approximately 2.2 to 5 decibels. Again, for reference, a quiet dishwasher ranges from 40 decibels to 45 decibels. Also, dishwashers could range from 46 decibels. We're looking to set the audible range based on the ambient condition of 40 to 50 decibels. The locator tone would provide approximately 42.5 to 55 decibels. We are also looking to implement a quiet mode, which would further reduce the noise level from approximately 10 p.m. to 7 a.m., which matches up with the timelines for current town Portola Valley quiet hours. We're looking to see if we can go ahead and do that and reduce the noise even further beyond what we currently set, just to make sure that it maintains a low noise level at any time. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this presentation. I am going to attempt to get comments at this point. I think that Ed Holland was interested. Am I muting him?
Thank you, Pat. Can everyone hear me?
Speaker.
Yeah.
Okay, now try.
Can everybody hear me?
That's pretty well. Your volume,
The volume is not going to be the speakers.
Ed, can you adjust your volume by doing it perhaps?
I can try. Is that any better?
That's better.
It's better.
Okay. Yeah, my question was specific about the necessity for the continuous broadcast tone from the pedestrian button point, and when did that come into California law? Because I know a lot of fairly recent installations do not have that feature, and I can, that's just a general annoyance in town that we don't need.
What he is,
What Ed is asking is that, when this came into law, when the what the rules as far as the beacons came into law, and if that was something that our beacons were before the new laws were in place.
Yes, so I do not know the exact edition of record in which the audible locator tone came into effect. I have not researched and reviewed that. I have briefly looked at prior editions. Several prior editions did require it in recent history. We do have existing crosswalks with flashing and visual indication. My understanding is that those existing crosswalks with flashing and visual indication, but without audible or without a locator tone, were installed to a prior edition of record, at which time this was not required. Current requirements do require an audible tone, an audible locator tone, and require there to be an audible tone when lights are flashing.
I see something. As far as the audible feature is concerned, I know that Palo Alto was hacked. And they put Elon Musk up there, when they press the button, and other dignitaries, apparently. I know we're trying to correct it, I'll trying to correct it, company used for this particular purpose. Is there any way we can turn it off until it's just?
It is final, meaning it is finished, which currently the deadline, in accordance with the grant funding agreement, is May 15th. Everything has to be in place, so we cannot, we have to have all functions functioning at that time in order for final sign off, similar to how you have with any other kind of residential permits. Does that make sense?
It does, I think myself, if that's the location, that corner. And I heard Elon Musk's voice on there, trying to disturb that distance, that's what you mean.
I think that what we need to keep in mind is that the area of influence is 6 to 12. We need to find out what that is, in all honesty, so perhaps, untested, you and the neighbors and the residents could possibly be there to be able to give their input on effect. Is that something that we would coordinate?
Yes, I intend to be fully present at the time in which this is adjusted. I intend to inform and at the very least go around to neighbors and knock on doors. I'm not sure if I have everyone's contact information. Everyone obviously has their right to privacy, and I do not want to disturb anyone that's not interested. It is difficult coordinating information to everyone, but I do intend to talk to everyone present in the local vicinity at the time which this is installed.
And that might be something that Kevin,
Absolutely.
he is so passionate about this, I'm sure you can get him interested in helping with getting the word out.
I can,
Thank you.
Okay.
As a comment, I would like to just remind the committee that we are restricted by federal guidelines, but within that, I'm committed to try to make this all for everyone.
It's so important to so many people, and if we can get people, on that, at that decision-making process and being able to understand the impact of, and what the decibels actually mean, I think it'll be really helpful for everyone.
I can tell you, you're talking about 55, 56 decibels now when you talk, so that's louder than the sound.
Right, exactly, so we need to understand what the sound actually is. Perfect, thank you,
Okay.
please.
So thank you very much for your presentation. I would like to make some corrections. So the traffic study started in 2017. We were all involved, residents and the BTS. It got approved August 2019 on condition that the crosswalk by Woodside Priory would be moved. And we all wanted to have the crosswalk closer to the Garrison Road. I don't know if you visited that crosswalk. It has all kinds of issues. You have side streets coming out, and over there, have, Georgia Lane. Is across from the north side, we have, I would say, Priory, they all come in and come out at the same time. And then you have the service, people coming in. So perhaps you don't know, but we did have flashing beacons there before. And they were constantly in repair and they were not reliable. So we want to understand why there was persistence to keep it in the same location. It doesn't solve the issue.
We also have lighted crosswalks.
Thank you for further information and further context on this. I'm not aware of all of these elements. Thank you for letting me know. The location where the crosswalk was mentioned as being desired, what I mentioned before.
Well, it was going to be closer to Cornwall Road. You have to understand, you have two curves in that road. And so when you go further than Cornwall, you have a better sight of what of oncoming traffic. Secondly, we have asked the previous public works director, and he was actually interested in that, compared to he was not allowed from the previous town manager. But if you look at those roads, we have warning signs. There are warning lights that, if they used to work, they were activated by speed. They're still in that location. And so we have asked to see if that could be activated again. Because that's the problem, people go about it. Speed is the problem. And the issue. So we also understand when you have flashing beacons, you have to have additional signage. We don't have signage in our town. This is not a suburban town. This is a rural town. And all these rules have been ignored. And that's why we were very upset.
Thank you. I'm more than happy to look into seeing the current status of these warning lights and
Well, they're not functioning, but that's what something we propose, because when you alert somebody that they're speeding before they approach the crosswalk, it's much better than having the lights at the crosswalk. It's too late by then.
These lights are so existing. They're non-operable.
thank you for letting me know. I also look at stats as well as the crosswalk.
So you know, can you look into that, please? If it's
Yes,
possible, and perhaps you don't need the new flashing beacons. Perhaps that can be used to activate the warning signs.
I will go ahead and look into these warning lights. Thank you for informing me. That's very valuable to know. the committee has mentioned that, these are not functional, I'll go ahead and look at that. There are certain rules and regulations. The flashing beacon project is ongoing and is currently underway with a deadline. In which we must finish that project in order to maintain funding that has already been committed and utilized. I can certainly, I haven't present out there before, by the way, and I will be present out there at the time when they are turning on these audible noises. I will go ahead and look into these warning lights as well. I think that's very valuable for additional safety measures.
If I can make a comment also, in Ladera, where they have the flashing beacons now. And there's multiple driveways or entrances onto the main flow, we could hear reports on the road. It's really confusing for the traffic to understand exactly where to stop. Because there's so many tributaries going onto the road that we do have signs. I was checking this morning and there are other crosswalks indicating where the car should stop in order for the pedestrians to cross. And it seems to me that that sign is going to have to be added to our new flashing beacons. And that the placement of that sign really needs some serious consideration because it's going to be confusing to many drivers and to other people coming onto that roadway. So I would really like to make sure that every time I go through Ladera and that light goes on, it's really, it's so poorly placed that I don't want that to happen again here. So, just a note.
I also agree with that. Driving that corridor, Valentine Road, through there, there must be 60 or 70 signs. The words can actually absorb all that would be. Then it comes across, if we're looking at another sign possible.
Yeah.
And I've seen a couple of those calls. Drive that road every day.
Thank you. And people back. Okay. Do you have any other comments? Yes, please.
Come up here.
Yes, please. And introduce yourself if you would.
And first of all, Rob, welcome to the town. You just landed into the hot water. So I do remember the problem with the current location is there's multiple entries of traffic into that particular area with Brookside, Georgia, Woodside Quarry, and several drivers coming in. So the recommendation at the time, which I thought the town council adopted, was to move it toward the current bus stop is on the south side of Port Madera on Portola Road. So I was very dismayed when I woke up one morning, walked out, and there was all this construction going on to build a new build a crosswalk where it is right now. So the first problem I can see is nobody was told. I mean, I talked to my neighbors on Brookside and around Portola Road. Nobody was told this construction is going to be going on. And so somehow the town needs to be more diligent in terms of distributing. The other part I don't really understand is what is the crosswalk signage going to look like? And so perhaps the town can show a photograph and distribute on the forum so that all of us know exactly what's getting installed. It probably the ship's already sailed, the construction's done, we got the money that's timing out, so it's going to get put in place where it is right now, which is a bad location, but it is what it is. But it would be nice to know what actually is getting implemented. So if the town could distribute a photograph, maybe it's what's in Madeira, which doesn't work that well anyway, so that we know what's going in. The other part is in terms of sound, and I'm sure all of us have lived through Alpine on Madeira, you see the lights, but you don't hear the sound. And so to the neighbors that live in the area like myself, it would be great if the sound tuning can be done as low as can be done to meet the intent of the law. Just because a person in a closed car driving through is not gonna hear this beep, beep, beep type of thing going through. And so it'd be good to kind of minimize the sound noise coming through on that. And the other part is, as was previously spoken, I mean, there are these signals that warn traffic coming through, that there's the speed limit and there's a crosswalk. And it's been turned off, for what reason, I have no idea, maybe there's a fault on the system. But to me, that would be much more applicable to what's going on in terms of helping kids cross the sidewalk. And it is a problem. I mean, you get kids going to the park, going to Ormondale, going toward Madeira, crossing the area. So it's very much a real problem. But again, Robert, welcome to the team. You just landed into a hot topic, but I'm sure you'll sort through that. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you very much. And
I've got another comment, which is the light. Okay, we're a dark sky town, and when I was looking at the specs for these crosswalk signs, some of them have less light at night. Okay, so they're not as bright at night, and I would think that that would be the kind of feature that people would like in Porto Valley. We had asked a long time ago what features these signs would have, and we've never heard because we've never had the detailed engineering spec. So I would appreciate it if we had it, and I don't know whether we should have a public forum for public comment, because that was never done on these crosswalks. Other than at the bike committee, okay, and so that is our public comment, but what we didn't have was something at the town centre where the whole town can come out one evening and look at the models and give their feedback. We have not even seen them.
So is there still a chance to choose the models, or is that also decided?
And whichever first occurrence to the past. So the equipment has already been ordered, as I understand, as Roger, the current deadline. And construction has been pushed back quite a ways. So I do not believe there is currently a chance to alter the equipment being used at this time and still meet the expiration deadline. All here. So.
Hey, good morning. It's good to see you again. Paul Krupka Consulting. I was engaged under contract by the city for the town of Portola Valley back in 2018 to do the pedestrian safety planning study, which has been mentioned, which was approved by the council in 2019. And was the basis for a substantial amount of improvements made to address fundamental traffic pedestrian conflicts focused on 4 school areas as well as major intersections intersections along the Portola and Alpine corridor. Any or almost most of the pedestrian safety improvements that were included in that study have been implemented. And I think implemented properly as properly and effectively as a part of the the resurfacing projects that have gone on in the town. The fundamentals that I saw when doing that work were very clear conflicts with pedestrians. You mentioned some things, but speed of traffic, inattention of drivers, the actual crossings here and contributing to schools are substantial. The intent and of the study was to define improvements, and those improvements were accepted as a part of the study. And we now move to this improvement. I am the designer, I'm the engineer of record on the project. I was involved at the early stage under the direction of the Public Works Director to assist with funding applications in the early 20s. Of course, COVID came along and we all had disruptions to our lives. During that time frame, we had applied for grant funding at one source, did not get it. Applied for grant funding with the Transportation Authority and did get that funding. So a shared funding agreement, the town has about 20% of the funding, and the balance of the funding for the project is TA. And I think we're talking about $160,000, a little less than what was approved. The approval was up to $165,000 by council back in November of 2024. So move to the locations, and I appreciate everybody's comments. And let me just back up and walk through some of the comments that I heard. With the audible matter that was raised by Ed Holland, that is, when was the law put into effect that guides are designed for audible, or the rapid flashing beacon project times, was put into place in California in 2018. So it was indeed in use, and it's applicable to this project. The matter of can we delay incorporation of the audible due to potential hacking? I think that the reality is that when we activate this device, these devices, they need to have the audible feature, must have the audible feature. And keep in mind, my function is on safety, my function is on utility and form, function more than form. And we're talking about members of the public that would have, that would need to use this, that may have sight impairment and need to locate the device and hear the speech tone to indicate when crossing, when the lights are flashing. The matter of the pedestrian safety project, including a condition about the crosswalk to be moved, I don't believe that was codified as accepted by the council at the time. It was left up to the designer to make the best available use of place the devices in the most effective place according to standard practice. And this is what I did. The the public works director, the city's contract civil engineer, and I spent time walking the Portola Brookside site. The proposed location at Corte Madera was found to be simply deficient. It would not be able to access the crosswalk without having some sort of a stairway or a ramp of some kind on the east side to get from the pathway, the path to the surface of the roadway. It was simply not acceptable. It did not address it. So pedestrians out of the pathway that they were using routinely. It did not meet the need of the project was to place the device in a safe location. During the design, I proposed that we simply leave the project in its existing location due to the very issues of pedestrian safety and vehicle movements. It is a complex area with the different driveways. I should say that the final design did have the crosswalk moved by maybe 5 feet or so to the north. Upon further consideration and further review of the site, I felt it was preferable to leave it in its current location because we could not access it effectively, and moving the crosswalk would not improve the condition measurably. The thing about, I think, Pat, you asked about signage. The project includes two kinds of devices. One is the rectangular rapid flashing beacon system, which involves 2 posts that have the pedestrian push button, the power unit for the project, and signage that directs pedestrians and vehicles about the safety conditions and points to the crosswalks. The supplemental signage is involved, I'll call it upstream, but before the crosswalk, supplemental signage and pavement markings are included to indicate that drivers shall yield to pedestrians when they're in the crosswalk at this location that's marked by what we call shark teeth on the roadway. So the project does include the full complement of system elements as defined by the MUTCD and as put into place in customary practice throughout our areas in California. So that addresses the signage and where the yield location. Let me stop for a moment and reiterate the problem that I just need to say one more thing, and I can stop if you need me to, but the problem that is here is that we have a conflict, and we're trying to mitigate that conflict by enhancing the driver's awareness of pedestrians and provide to pedestrians the ability to effectively signal to the driver that they're there. To the point that was raised earlier about this not being effective, I totally disagree. I am a professional traffic engineer, professional civil engineer with over 40 years of experience. And I just disagree with that. This will provide a substantial improvement to the ability of the driver to understand and see the pedestrians. Nighttime light aside, flashing blue light They won't flash that off, and if they're not, unless there's a pedestrian. It's a necessary, it is essential. And I don't believe there's a dimming feature. I don't think there's a dimming feature in any kind of a light system.
I saw that online, on one of the things,
It-
and it said that there was the lumens of the light were less, it could be set for a certain time. They know it's
Let's
right.
look into that, I think we'll look into that, as Robert said, but, so there's some background for you. I will say that the project has been designed, as effectively and, completely as possible. And I will say that the project's under construction and slated to be complete this week, this Friday. The contractor just notified me yesterday about a delay in the striping pieces, which is to reinstall the crosswalks and these pavement markings. And we've got to deal with that. The intent is to activate the systems when the whole improvement is complete. So that's it's immediate. The opportunity is upon us. And the next step would be having the engineer and town engineer and myself and anybody who's interested to simply listen to the tones as they get set.
Exactly. Oh, and if we can, I have to get Ed Holland on the phone right now. He's our local business, and we are going to try to attempt to change our meeting time from Wednesday mornings to Fridays. And we need to talk to him now because he's on the clock as well, so we just interrupt. And we're gonna resume crosswalks when we're done with Ed. Okay? So, always gone. We lost them. Okay, I'm not sure how we can do that.
No, I'm still here, Pat, if you're looking for me.
Okay, we got him.
I do apologize. I'm having a great deal of difficulty hearing what you're asking. If you're asking me to make a comment or express something, please try again.
They're not coached with how they do
Yeah, that's what they call us.
Yeah, the sound has been pretty garbled and it's going in and out. And it's not just my wonderful Wi-Fi. So please, if you can speak into the mics. And then there's also crosstalk of people that have their mics on that are talking to each other.
Progress.
We're going to try to call Ed and pass it in that way.
Hi, Kevin.
We have a proposal on the board to change our official meeting time from
Oh,
Wednesday.
okay, I have that on the line.
to Friday.
Okay, we're gonna put you on, the speaker on Zoom. Go ahead, Ed. Go ahead.
Hi there, thank you. I just want to mention that it's been really hard to hear
That's our next item on the
during
agenda.
this meeting.
Yes.
And people are also cross-talking.
I can continue to attend in-person meetings. Usually influence you
we totally appreciate and understand that, and I guess as far as our committee is concerned and the other people that attend our meeting on a regular basis, which is important for our committee, how do we feel about changing the meetings to Friday?
Or if we have to vote on that?
What is the protocol for this?
Well, this is something I hope to. Clear up.
Ben Gary is coming to sit down to explain this process.
Yeah, I want to.
Maybe and leave, or it's in your charter, so we would have to make that adjustment as well. So, but the key is the committee would need to say, we want to do this, and then we'll have to work with you on whatever charter change you have to do that. You could also probably test it out for 3 meetings and see how it goes. There's another route you can always take, because, you know, just try it and see how it works, how the public reacts, how it works for your schedules. But it would need a vote for this body to make that change. It can't just be made because Ed would like to make it.
Oh, we understand that.
Yeah, take a temporary vote, right?
So,
For
but we
Friday,
could
for
do a
Friday.
motion to change the meeting to Fridays.
I think that would work fine. I mean, I'm one of those that likes to try pilot projects.
Yeah.
I made the outline. I like to try things out and see, and then in the meantime, while you're trying it out, we can see what charter actions have to be done. Because you're a unique committee in that sense, that you kind of have a charter that creates when you meet.
Do we know if there's a conflict as far as this meeting space for Fridays? Friday mornings?
Friday afternoon, evening.
I don't know of any, but that's easy enough to check.
Okay.
So, you know, you could say, well, let's give it a try for 3 to 6 months or whatever it is you want to. I don't believe anybody's using it on Friday. It's an odd day for people because they kind of.
When they
like
do that,
that 3-day weekend thing.
right, exactly.
But it's easy enough to check and out while you're working on this other stuff, I'll text you.
Friday, all day.
Because I've seen some irregularities among communities.
Sorry.
So I had asked to see if we could establish if there would be open spots on the calendar for us to hold the Friday meetings before we went through the whole process, since we could vote on what we decided we wanted to do, only to be held up by a calendar clash. So the first thing to do is find out if there's available time and space to meet. And I hope we would have been there by now, but that did not happen.
Well, it doesn't sound as though there's a big demand for Friday meetings, you know, so,
I'm checking.
we're checking right now to see on availability, and I think it's really important as far as our committee. While this is being checked, maybe we can potentially discuss what time on Friday we want to do this. I think we really need to be cognizant of other people that are helping our committee, and especially our new planner, who, you know, I don't think it's reasonable to expect them to come on Friday nights to a meeting.
I'm totally agree with you.
Yeah.
So what Tori's telling me is that we don't have anybody that meets on Friday. She's gonna double check that we'll need to go to the council, town council, about ultimately changing it.
Okay, but right now, with our committee, we could vote to choose a time for our next Friday meeting, our next meeting to be on Friday at an agreeable time, and then we can use that as a pilot to see if it's going to work. That's right.
That's my, kind of off the wall idea.
Mark, I think that's brilliant. It works for us.
And then we'll get it set up, if it works, we'll set it up so the council can act on it. This fiscal year to be here on Fridays.
Wait a second, you know what? Ed, are you still there? We are wondering on your end, for Fridays, what time are you thinking of?
I would probably prefer to get something over in the morning rather than the evening.
Oh, yes, and
Working hours.
Thank you.
I should be able to take you there.
Exactly. Yeah, thank you. Okay, Caroline.
I have 2 questions, to the town engineer. Do you work on Fridays?
We have employees who work on Friday. I work on Friday. Robert's getting in on Friday. Tony's in on Friday.
Okay.
We have appointments on Friday. The building's not open like it is Monday through Thursday. But, we are not. We're there. We have people in.
Have a comment.
Okay.
My question is, in prior meetings, we've always had a public works director here to kind of guide us as a committee. It's been great. We hopefully have Robert the same.
Oh, no, the public works director didn't have much information, it was always.
Oh,
I worked all kinds of. Yeah, you weren't on there.
No, last year's.
No, not the last couple of years, yeah.
It's always.
Yeah. Yes, last few years, that's right.
Question on the process, because, like I mentioned, there's been some irregularities among committees. When you're a member and you attend the meeting on Zoom, you can be part of the discussion, but you cannot be part of the decision making. Is that correct?
You can only be part of the decision making if you have posted where you're calling in from, you have an agenda you posted there, and so on. So there's just rules that we can help whatever member of the committee is going to be online so that they can vote. But right now, I think it's important to get back to Robert and the rest of the agenda.
Right, okay, so
I encourage you, I'm just making notes here that you can test it out.
exactly,
Next
so
meeting.
what I would propose, before we begin, let's see, if we could potentially just change our meetings to Friday at 8:15. Don't change anything but the date.
8:30.
8:15, what's that before?
Yes, and if we could say for the next 3 times, as our town manager suggested, that covers us for a little bit.
Exactly, so can we put that to a vote?
I propose that the next 3 bicycle and pedestrian committee meetings are at 8:15 on the first Friday of the month.
And I said that.
Okay, we are very happy with that. Let us put that into record. Ed, are you okay with that?
Yes, thank you very much. And before I have to go, I just want to say thank you very much for doing such a great job today, and also to our town employees for showing up and placing the music. Thank you, everybody.
Yes, thank you so much, Ed, and we look forward to next month, Friday morning. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, perfect. Let's continue. The beacon situation, we're back to beacons. I am really personally not sure what we should be doing. We have a 3-day deadline. Like the 15th is our deadline, so we have a week and a half.
We're in the process of asking for amendments. That's not finalized yet. We're seeing if we can do that, there's no guarantee, the county transportation authority has been very workable so far, it's already been submitted once. So currently, we're working on understanding that there is a deadline, the deadline is very soon, and I'm trying to get that soon, but especially with, the county, that is difficult in such a short time.
What happens if we don't finish it by the 15th?
Correct. So there's a contractual agreements in place. The county transportation authority is paying for approximately 80% of this project. The town is paying for approximately 20%, which is wonderful. I'm very grateful for them. And I appreciate the work that Paul has done, as a prior town manager from the first has done to secure that funding. We need to make our best faith attempts to meet that expiration date.
That seems very clear, that, that expiration date is, something that we all feel a little overwhelmed, I guess, because we're really grateful you're here, but as a committee, we've been kind of pulling our heels with this project, waiting for something to occur, that all of a sudden it's just like everything at once, and then this big deadline, pretty overwhelming. So, we will, it seems, look forward to getting notifications as far as when it is that we can be involved with the timing, with the signage, with, the decibel settings for the signs, that type of thing. Do we have a network in place as far as, making sure that everyone knows what's going on, the forum, everybody use that?
I'm sorry, not with the forum, it has to be on the public website,
We have to put
which is
that up.
something I have asked in the last 2 years. Forum, not everybody's on the forum.
Okay.
Liaisons will come.
We don't have any shares.
Has to go on the public website.
It has to go on.
On the town website, and the question is, are there updates on the town website for the implementation?
Well,
Not the
I
form.
don't say that. Oh, that, yeah,
Yeah. The last notice that the two notices were issued via the newsletter and the other connected domains, if you will, platforms. The first notice was in February before the project started. That gave a complete schedule that showed the project in February. That was not possible. The second notice was issued literally last week on the 30th. Not in the newsletter, but through an e-notification. I had to say something. This phone was not in the newsletter. It was in the e-notification.
I mean, the February one, I didn't see that one, where was the
I'm sorry,
February notice? I never saw this.
you never saw that, but that was in the town newsletter. And I can go back and tell you the date, but it was there.
I think it should be on the public town website, www.net.
Well, that's what we're talking about, is the town's website, the newsletter on the town's website, you know what I'm talking about.
No, I didn't know, I actually thought it would come under the public works.
No.
But the projects, like, if you've got a big project like the Stanford, project, it's on the public works site, it says this is a project we're working on, and I think that's where people expect to see it.
That's what you're talking about. You're talking about Carolyn, and what you're talking about, is there a project subpage or project page on the website in public works? I believe not. That it has not, it does not, unless it's happened, and I'm sorry to say that's not my responsibility, that it has not happened. And I think, you know, and I have been present throughout this time period, and I must note that, I have observed and felt the impacts of not only COVID, but a very substantial, change in staffing and ability to get your work done. And this has been problematic for everybody, and including us lowly consultants who are trying to help too. And I think that the matters of communication between public works and this committee, clearly, I've seen that affected. I've seen the issues of the sheriff wanting to have sheriff's reports, and I understand that. There's been a lot of disruption going on, and I just wanted to make my own observations known.
Hey, Paul, I appreciate all the work you've done. I've seen Angela's seen it, and unfortunately, this town's going through a lot of different changes, including COVID. And I hope we can go ahead with the state and say, wait a minute, slow down a little bit. We May 15th is pretty far past for us. And I truly hope we get an extension on this particular project. But Paul, you've been great. Thank you.
If we do get an extension, how can we be notified that that is happening?
I need to review what information I has to be pushed forward to the entire public versus specific committee members here. I'd like to start by saying, I think Paul's done an excellent job. He's doing an excellent job. He's been very responsive. There has been difficulties in this project with this tight timeline. If we really get an extension, I will go ahead and let everyone know through one means or another. We have to anticipate with this current timeline, it would be abnormal to hear back from the Transportation Authority prior to the deadline. Typical deadlines for extension of this sort would take 1 to 2 weeks to process. In order to make sure we maintain funding, the project that has funding committed and 80% being paid for by the Transportation Authority, I strongly recommend we continue to proceed forward on our current path with the current implementation measures to meet minimum federal guidelines, but to work with the committee, as we've heard here, as we've heard requested here by the public, to minimize the potential disruption to the neighborhood. I'd like to put forward too, while this is qualitative and it is simply a thought I'm putting forward, I'm not representing anything factual. When most members of the public encounter flashing beacons and a crosswalk with excellent signage, as we'd be updating here, most members of the public do tend to respect that and slow down, which actually reduces the ambient noise to the community. And as we've heard here, we do have some issues with speeding in the community. And I look forward to the installation of these flashing beacons as a method to, in fact, reduce the ambient noise from cars that are driving slower in these areas, because it's easy to recognize that there are children around these areas. Well, that's not factual. I hope that actually these crosswalks will have the end result of reducing ambient noise for the neighborhood and creating more of a rural environment rather than what we're seeing now, which is potential issues identified in the prior pedestrian safety study, where there is speeding and there are people that are not treating our community as a rural neighborhood. What I can say is that we really do need to proceed forward with this project and doing everything I can. I think Paul's done an excellent job. I apologize for not keeping the town more informed. I just recently on board and I look forward to attending your meetings in the future. Caroline, I believe one of your questions was, will I be in Friday? I believe it's published from salaried employee. While I appreciate the time respecting my time, I will do everything possible to respond to questions at whatever time they are presented within my power. I do have a lot of other responsibilities, including permits. Traffic is a big concern. Obviously, there's ongoing road work. That's our responsibility to make sure it's safe. But I am more than happy to attend the meeting on Friday, be at 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 10 p.m., whatever it may be. I request that the committee please limit my time to a maximum of 2 hours.
That's the problem.
No problem.
But I believe we're kind of getting off topic here slightly. I've heard other things that Caroline has a few things she'd like to say. But I'll go ahead and look into the warning lights. I really appreciate Paul's further information as a traffic engineer and the engineer of record for this project. I'll go ahead and see if I can get a photograph of what this looks like, and some further information. I apologize if that wasn't previously presented to you.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, then they have never been publicized, and that's the problem.
Well, it's a committee last week.
Yeah,
You weren't on the committee.
It should be up on us. Yes, I was on the committee.
No, 2019.
So, oh, no, no, 2008, is that, well, I'll be on my website.
Okay.
Thank you, Robert, for enrolling us to work with us. One of the issues, one of the propositions we have made, when you look at the Trails Committee, they have, they have all the trails listed, and they've given a regular update on what is being done. We have asked Mr. Crockett to explain what planning he's done for the last few years. So we have this list that we don't know exactly what he has done. And it would be nice to indicate, so if I do this planning, I'll work on this street, and this is what I did. Because we have no clue.
Should approach and view the list.
Sorry?
Should approach and view the list as presented.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Which brings us, this is the list from Mr. Butler, so this is the list from our current list from CCAC. You can, yes. And that was an agenda item for the BPTS. I also want to mention that not everybody is in favor of flashing beacons. I believe this committee has many of the members. We can vote on that again. We want to see the roundabouts, I think possible, if you see that list, lower the speed.
Okay.
To briefly speak on this list, Paul is a traffic engineering consultant. Coordination to this list would be my future responsibility. Paul was not brought on as the public works director, and he's done an excellent job going above and beyond. Consideration for this sort of list would be under my purview. We'd have to look into this and what would be potentially possible. Traffic and roads contain many more restrictions, guidelines, and authorities beyond trails. There's many more moving parts and many more considerations that you have to keep in mind with pedestrians and bicycles and traffic. And I'd have to look into this. I just encourage you to keep in mind that there are many more regulated authorities, and the design of traffic engineering is far more complex than trail engineering, so we have to keep in mind that there is a factor of magnitude more complexity in planning out traffic and traffic improvements. Relative to the fact there are some members that are not in favor of this project, I totally understand. Again, to characterize what I understand, we were presented previously circa 2020 with an approved plan and directed to seek out grant funding in order to provide improvements to reduce the risk to children and pedestrians in our community. I understand that reasonable minds may differ. There are various opinions in our community. My role and Paul's role is simply to proceed forward as we were directed. And the agreement was signed, I think, 2022, upon approval from town council. And once that agreement was reached, we're obligated as a town to proceed forward, or else we will lose that funding. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This, I think we should, we do something. Paul, did you have something that you wanted to say? I wanted to thank both of you for your time today. It's really nice to have you both here. Your presence is really appreciated. And I think at this point we should move on our agenda to event planning, event permitting. So
Well, that's in Wells to school.
that comes after.
Exactly, next.
You're after that. So, unfortunately, well, with the situation with event permitting, we had an event this last month with a group called Best Buddies that appeared on our roadways with signage and a great deal of presence. And apparently they received a permit from the town of Portola Valley. And we never heard anything about it, and it was from Caltrans. They gave that, yeah, exactly. They issued a broad permit for the roadways, including Los Tratos, or no, excuse me, Volvo Honda. They went up Volvo Honda with I never heard of anyone getting an approved permit to go up Volvo Honda.
They're not supposed to be because of the safety of anything about it.
Exactly. So, I checked with Best Buddies and they sent me some of the paperwork involved with this permit that they got. And I think that we are not going to have time right now to review this. But if we could, I would really appreciate it if we could maybe figure this out. How Caltrans offered a permit that we didn't know about. And where did the money go that Best Buddies paid for that permit? Because once again, that should be money coming into Portola Valley. And going up dangerous roads like Old Honda should never be allowed in a permitted situation. So we need to find out what's going on there. It's a big disconnect, and we can take that offline now, but maybe we can talk about that later.
I think we should, because this was a big ride, this was a money-making deal. And as for disabled children, it was a great ride, but it really impacted our town. These great big signs came out all along Alpine Road, nobody knew about it, impacted everybody. Nobody knew in our identity about this particular bicycle ride. And we just don't want anybody hurt. We could have had the sheriff out here, we could have had maybe other people helping as well.
It was a 5-day event. And without knowing a thing about it until the signs go up, and CHP was out here directing traffic. I mean, this is just like, whoa. Yeah, it was a big deal. So, okay, let's move on. We will put that into, I and Ed, you wanna, or excuse me.
Mhm.
Uh, I'll work with you on that after this is over. Okay, the next thing on our agenda is safe route to schools. Caroline.
Hello, well, to our traffic, to our engineer, safe routes to school are very important because these are the trails. Basically trails that have been established in Portola Valley, at least since 2000 or even earlier. And because we anticipated and we saw an increase in traffic and speeding, these kids use the trails to bike, not only to school, but to other destinations like town hall, the library. We have Alpine Inn, the tennis club, and we have all our recreational fields. It's very important, and it's very important because we have, unfortunately, we had a planning department that did not invite us to give input. And then, as a result, many projects have been approved that those safe routes to school are on. And these projects are not to be dedicated for any safe routes to school. The project on Willow Commons, we have the approved amendments to the Woodside Priory. They now have 2 entrances. On our safe routes to school that are impacted, and there has been no solution to it. So I have been trying to work with the school, and of course we missed the deadline for May, because my invitation and to collaborate was not acknowledged. Unfortunately, Council Liaison Walter had to leave, but she's trying to help. She came to some interesting points, which we should actually further discuss before we actually continue this project, because when you look at how much money is available, it's about 130,000. And then they have to divide it by 12 towns. What can you do with $20,000? And if we don't have the collaboration with our schools or other institutions like the Sequoias, those are the institutions that need to provide us with the data on that I need to get them, we always don't get it. And we are a young population. There's several issues, so it gets more complicated, but I told the town council liaison the next month is for August. And that application will come to town staff, but as we have seen in the past, we've never gotten these applications, and so we encourage that there is a working solution. But another question from Council Walter mentioned, and we should double check is what is our financial situation of the town? Because as you see, these grants, they're not always funded 100%, right? Our finance director was able to scramble and get to 20%. To pay for the flashing beacons, but what is the future with the town of Control Valley?
We're not on the Windsor finances, but our finances are fine.
we have $20 million in the bank. Some of that's obviously reserved. We did it within our budgets. Our budget is very tight. That's the direction of the council and the finance committee and our finance director. It's, we are not using reserves to balance our budget, which is why the staffing situation that was alluded to. But, we watch that very carefully. If you want to know more, tonight here is, a town hall meeting on the budget, on expenditures, where the money goes, how it's used, and so on. But I think you can disabuse anybody who feels that we're reported bankrupt, or we are not. We're not in that kind of trouble. We're managing money very tightly. We're not overstaffing. We're trying to manage the consultants. But it's good operating. Yes, it's tight, but we're not at risk. I hope that's clear.
That's good to hear. It's different from what the Wall Street Journal said.
Yes. But just, you can go online, or it's from 4 to 6 tonight, it's here, or you can go online and see where the money is going. We have issues we need to work on, like the sheriff's contract and so forth. But not going there. It's being managed well. We're happy with our finance director. We're happy to work with the finance committee. We're happy to work with the council in keeping it as tight as it is. And we are very, you are blessed to have a staff that's willing to work hard under that kind of environment and situation and deliver. By the way, we did just check, council member and I just checked the website. Under community newsletter, there was the April 30th announcement about the.
I actually wasn't aware that the newsletter was on the website.
We will look at doing a project posting, Barbara and I were talking.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
For the town manager and the finance director.
No question about it.
Got it very, very impressed. As far as the application for safe rides in August, I believe, if we could put that on the agenda for this committee for July, we can revisit that.
Well, I have to double check because that goes with hearings before, but the application is sent to you guys, so I think that might even come in June. Because then I have to attend meetings. The question is, because that's what town council liaison Walter said, she works in public, is these agencies. They send out these applications, but they don't have a budget. So even though they send out these applications, before knowing what money they have, is a complete wrong process. You should first know what your budget is, and then send out applications, because otherwise you spend all this work on applications and they might reject it. By coming back and saying, sorry, you don't have the money. So this is completely wrong, and that needs to be straightened out from their end. And so we have the public Department of Education, who's working on the same goals as several other agencies. So it's a mismanagement of taxpayers' money, in my opinion. And so we need to, it would be nice if one of our legislators would streamline that process, because we're spending money with CCAG, we're spending money in the sanitary Department of Education, and nobody works together. And if they have a goals set for 2011 and they don't meet them, then they just postpone them to 2015, then they postpone them again to 2020, and now we're at 2030. Same goals. And we're not even in the picture.
I can't speak on, what the county or what the state may be doing. I can only control what I can do for the public here in this town, I would request that we revisit this application. We believe we published as part of this committee. I'd be happy to be part of that process, and you requested that the town involve yourself in this committee in public. I would request we add that to future agendas relative to this application for grant funding for safe rides and discussion in future committee meetings. I think that's a great topic to see we get funding for that.
But it would be helpful for members like myself to see an application, I've never written an application, and so I know that I've been asking to see applications and how we would fill them out.
Well, maybe at this point, we can look at a situation where Robert and you potentially offline could look at applications. So we can move on, because we're now. Let's keep moving.
Yeah.
Okay, so Caroline, I don't have any intention of cutting you short.
No, that's it.
Are you okay with setting something up so that you can review what he's doing in the future? As far as applications, what's going on? Because if he's new, we're trying to establish a good relationship.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next thing on our agenda is the alternate transport infrastructure, which is an update from our subcommittee, and one of the things that we were trying to do is review the signage that we had going on within Portola Valley, extraneous signs that were necessary. I have a little package of signs that have been removed. We have 11 signs that were put up by local people that was very official that have been taken down. And interestingly enough,
You put lost trinkets?
yeah,
Yeah, lost trinkets.
11 signs, not all of Los Angeles, but are in the area. But what's interesting is far as the signs that people put up that we have now taken down are signs about speed and signs about being cautious and slowing down. So I think that the big takeaway with our changing of signage or removing these signs is that no matter where we are on these streets in Portola Valley, we need to get people to slow down, because that's our biggest problem is speed. And for so many different applications, we just have to figure out how to get people to turn it down 5 miles an hour.
But it used to be that the police would catch people for speeding, and then it was thought it was very unfair for poor people to pay the same fines as rich people. And so it became an education thing, and if we look at our police reports, they're nearly all for going through the stop signs. When I started writing the minutes about 10 years ago in this committee, we would get about 70 citations a month, and about 60 of those would be for speeding on Alpine Road. I can put my iPhone on a tripod, and I have an app that will show the speed of cars going by and take a photo of that car. There are many, many people speeding up and down Alpine Road, but we have a negligent police force who cannot catch people for speeding.
As you know, I'm the sheriff representative. I use radar myself. And I'm really concerned about the corridor on Alpine Road where the new wedge is going. The Stanford Wedge, which they call Portola Terrace, which I don't get the name. But I lived in Portola Terrace in San Francisco. I was very city like San Francisco, and decided, this is 40 mile an hour something. The average speed, we have a smart radar trailer, we have looked at, is 47.9 miles per hour, maybe 48 miles per hour. That's the average. And I'm thinking, okay, well, if there's new development in there, And we're gonna have people crossing the street, and I go off, or I'm responsible. And we have, like I used to say, said right now, we have to have a little bit more enforcement. Maybe. I noticed that the last report we just received in January and February, I don't think there was one speed citation, any stop sign, we call 22,450 PC. When we started this, in 2014, we're on the committee, but all kinds of, you know, traffic furniture, roundabouts, different types of firms and those that. So, I'm good, we're concerned right now with the police. Police is not, that's the county anymore. Private entity. So, we did last year, the entire corridor right outside this town where we're sitting right now was impacted by cars parked in Bushel Road. Bicycles come through. You know, it's bicycle loop. We gave our bicycle pedestrian traffic safety committee. We have work office, especially keep the bicycle safe. Because we have what's happening
Because of the earth come down and the trees and there's I mean, I could, with my meta glasses, I can take pictures as I go along, and I have done it where it's not.
Yeah, they have to be scraped. The asphalt's there. And in 2011, when we decided to change the name of the town committee, we put bicycles first. And I found myself, I see a lot of bicycle accidents that too, get first aid to just recently. And I think we have to do something to protect bicyclists. I'm not a bicycle rider, like friends, committee here. Motorcycle first, primarily, and then automobile. On this path, I see that.
So to continue, on to the Palooza, we have a huge event coming up. And we need to, somebody's dog is barking.
I know who it is, and it's.
Okay,
That's
so,
all I don't want to say.
so,
That's how it's the work.
the Palooza has, a major impact on town. And we had discussed last month as far as potentially helping out with parking. And, do we have any, advancements on that? Do you have?
Yes, I do.
reports? Oh, good job.
Not exciting. Thank you. So we were trying to get the meadow over here, turn down meadow to park. A few years ago, we had a town picnic, and it was fantastic because the town did not own that land at that point, to swing down so we can park for our town picnic, and it was really comfortable for everybody. Right in there, we had a garage, put a 100 cars in that particular area, and it worked out fine. Now, parking people on the farm road, which they have to all, this is all the way up, way back. It's 7th Street. I'm bigger and bigger every year, and everybody wants to come out here to see these 21 bands. Thanks, beautiful out here. But very importantly, take our time to really help groups involved. They fast, I'm telling you that.
It's going to be done for the parking, but all I can say is that I was at that end of the parking for the Palooza. And I actually had to go and get a whiteboard to say car park 4, at a couple of car parks down there, because nobody had any sign and cars were going in and out around the library all the time, and it was full, and, there was no other place, once you got people down from road on the other side, you know, it's a long way, and then they've got to cross the road, which is problematic when you've got cars in the parking space. So we have to, you know, we have to be able to say when a car park is full and where the overflow parking is. I mean, basically, we had nowhere to say where the overflow parking was. The people were doing U-turns coming out of the side of the road. It was a mess.
It was practically a disaster, I'm telling you. We had people yelling and screaming, yelling and screaming at each other, horses come by, we had a spring down here, they were coming in to drop their children off and just from down training. Emergency vehicles have to get through here. We're gonna have more food trucks this year, I don't know if you know it. The Cultural Arts Committee who was involved at one time. And that was now it's not a town event, it's a county, statewide event. Regional event, very good event. I think, we really have to get people involved with, especially with parking and safety for bicyclists and pedestrians.
So this is a message for the town manager. We have been discussing this. We feel that this event cannot be controlled by volunteers. Which that you contact the sheriff, that they participate in this, they're supposed to be there. And I think that the possibility to open up that open space for parking, or not?
Apparently not, that is now full open space, and they can't use that particular field out there.
What can you know, see, the search team that is looking for this lost woman, now they have opened their whole parking.
Right, that's all.
Is that on Neely's? Have of this open space, and they make arrangements. That,
Good question. All right.
All of it coming.
and we've done.
Pardon?
That would be. Looking for the lady.
I hear all the issues you're asking. We'll see what we can work on. The Palooza used to be part of the cultural arts. It's on its own, however, we still have an active role in it, so. Sending us those issues, I know about parking, I don't know about the use of that lot that's now owned by the town. We could certainly talk with the sheriffs, so. Listening to you now to see what we can do. It may be, not as much this year as you would like, since it is 2 weeks away, roughly 3 weeks away now. I don't know whether we have parking problems for Mother's Day or the horse fair, but we'll see what about that.
That is not as big, this was, a much bigger event.
Well, it's a huge event, I can see by the posters, so I know it's a huge event. I'd have to talk with John, see what they're doing about all these things. So we're hearing it, but I'm cognizant of the fact that, you don't have all day to talk this over, so we'll just try to take all these notes down and see what we can do.
I think the most important thing would be to have a priority of parking spaces, like, you know, number 1 might be here, number 2 might be Christchurch parking lot, number 3 might be across the road, or number 4 might be the field. But wherever it is, I think we need to have these lots, and when they're full, sign that lot and say go to lot 3, go to lot 4 or something like that. That would help tremendously.
We have to keep the people out of the showroom for sure, because that's, we don't call it bicycle lane, we call it shoulder lane. We voted that in 2011. Point is, we're about 5 foot wide, and that's what we park, it's very convenient. I can park the car right here, walk right to, center. Yeah, and that's an enforcement problem. And I don't know how you want to handle that.
Well, I'm gonna find out how John's planning on handling it. There.
Okay, thank
He's the
you.
responsible party.
Yeah.
So that's where we start.
John was here last month.
No, Bill.
Oh,
Bill
Phil
was
was here last month. Dr. was warning us and requesting assistance as far as the parking situation. And now he's not here this month, so once again, we have a disconnect as far as what's going on. And just so you know, our committee, and I know I'm going to be here, so are you going to be here this?
Yeah, I would.
So we do have people to help with public committee. And we're experienced with parking, so we can definitely help. But we need to know what's going on. And we're looking to you for that direction. So we appreciate that, and we really, are concerned with the bikes once again, it's just, we don't want anyone to get hurt. And we want the event to be as successful as possible.
Worked on these in other cities, we'll see if we can do it this. So here are your issues.
Appreciate that, thank you.
We'll see what we can do with this, kind of, 3 weeks away. So
One thing we did last year, we opened up Farm Road, okay, goes all the way down to Woodside, which is a long walk. And I think John Batcher was talking about getting golf carts. And some kind of shuttle service from that point. You know, if you're way down there, there's probably about 3,000 feet down by Woodside. There's a lot of parking on both sides of Farm Road.
Yeah.
We have a few here.
shuttles can work as long as people will take them as opposed to trying to park close by.
Right.
Really, it's all true, it's all training. Okay.
Okay.
Let's see,
Hi, excuse me,
and that the next thing is matters arising. Do we have enough, it seems like we have plenty of matters arising, we don't need to bring you up, in my humble opinion. Okay.
What you do, and I would suggest you take a really good look at your agendas, so you don't have to be 2 hours.
This is a very unusual day, we've had people here that we have been waiting to meet.
Yeah.
And it was really
Well, today was gonna be long, just.
yeah, exactly, usually we're much better with timing, but yes, absolutely. On that note, how about adjourning this meeting, and can I get a motion for adjournment?
Second.
Thank you very much, thank you very much. I get that, okay, very good, wow.
One thing we did discuss, there's $100,000 that Stanford gave us for the wedge for future.
We just adjourned.
Well, we can talk about it.
It's on the agenda next week.
Yeah, it was on the agenda.
Yeah, you wanna know what's happening about that?
No, I'm just, are we gonna put that into a reserve account so that it gets interest?
Not sure. I would guess so, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, okay.
hi, are you taking any comments?
No,
Are you,
Right, well, thank you for that too.
Yeah.
It is just so great to have you guys here. We really,
We told the captain.
hello?
You had the connection with them.
Right.
Which he did not know, but he wants to meet with you, so we'll try to get all that.
Yeah, I couldn't even, actually, I tried to get into the field there. They wouldn't even let me in.
well, we got no freedom.
Yeah, so.
Gentlemen,
Yeah.
ladies,
I
are you,
need an identification card or something. I think. A badge. I need a badge, maybe.
Rita,
yes. I Please, I know it's been impossible to hear everyone, and I just want to make a suggestion. Please write the minutes up for this meeting the old-fashioned way, because anyone that listens to the recording will not hear anything except somebody doing something very horrible to everyone in that room. It's been just impossible to really follow along. So please, this is an important meeting. Please do thorough minutes and write down who was talking, because you couldn't tell who was talking, because then it would be garbled and you couldn't hardly follow. So please do thorough minutes for this important meeting. Thank you.
Say AI was AI recording it on Zoom? Because AI writes the minutes on Zoom and they actually write better minutes than.
Yeah. Communications, yeah.
Sorry, Mike.
And why can you not, with the Zoom meetings, you have a live caption. And so we have asked the town council and staff, why can we not use that as our recordings?
You can do action minutes and use
No.
I'm not sure what you mean, if you're talking about using the video of their meetings to back up your meeting.
No, we're taking the transcript.
The transcript.
Yeah,
When you look at Zoom, there's a feature there. But not every committee turns that on, and that's why we wanted to have a unified process. You're able to have a live caption. And so there must be an ability to have that as a recording.
And people are already doing it with their committees.
What I do in Zoom when I have meetings is I turn on the AI. And then the AI writes the minutes, and then I take
Yeah,
the minutes,
that's-
and someone else copies, just edits that.
And how do you do
You
that?
guys know how to close up?
Yeah, that's the keys.
I got a key. You should get my phone number, Robert. My home phone number is on my cell phone. It's important. Do that. And I think about it. Started out here.
Does that have at the bottom of the Zoom turn on the AI? Yeah.
Here's the AI.
That's right. So if you have that turned on, it writes the minutes, basically.
It's like it starts summary.
Yes.
But
Yeah. So that's what you do at the beginning, right? And then it writes the whole minutes for you.
now.
Why does that not
And
use?
then if you can give that to Caroline, and all she has to do is edit that.
But
Yeah.
that's what I've been asking town council and staff, why they're not doing that.
Wait, it's the person sitting here who has to do it.
So all we have to do is come over here and tap on this little button. And your minute taking is editing as opposed to. Then it asks you what to send it. So.
And I think the planning commission is already doing it.
Thank God.
You just have to ask the operator.
So
Yeah.
we need to make sure that Ed.
Knows, knows how to do that. Yeah.
We've been San
Yeah.
Francisco, I have a committee for probably 5 minutes. Long legal.
Yeah, now.
This is, people have opinions and it's contentious, and I think that's reasonable. It's a big deal, and it affects the town, and it's contentious. But, it is what it is,
Right.
so I'm happy to do whatever I can. And I've heard your concerns.
That, that public again was brought up. First of all, we have a different town council.
Yes,
So the mayor and the vice mayor who took all the decisions are gone.
yes.
And our council, the people who think, oh, we should look at what did not work with the previous, and they have not done that. Because this is really, Mr. Crawford has been here since 2019, and we haven't gotten any updates. Well, 2017, we took 60,000 out for the reserve to make the study, but then we have all these other agencies who have a much better report. And these are the people who have supposedly state and federal funding. But they're not working together.
Well, and then today, we're in a situation where it's the 6th of May. And our deadline is, now it's already having to be extended, and then they show up for the meeting. We've been asking for some presents forever, and understand, we just got hired, well, Paul's been on board. And he hasn't come to these meetings, he can come to a meeting there too. Why didn't we see that?
And so like, I don't know.
That's something to talk about with Mark and
Yeah.
the rest of the town. That's
So this
probably.
Yeah, because, I'm saying, here I am, I'm the commissioner, the sheriff department won't let me in.
I would say talk with the town and not quite. So my next few days are gonna be mostly rectangular meeting. And mostly being out there and being present. I'll see what I can do, but.
It's not a priority, it's not a priority thing. Just like, I felt so out of place. Look, here, I've been here for 30 years. It's taking place in our town. And they won't let me in.
But that's not really his. problem.
I'm not saying it's this problem, I'm just saying that that's the kind of communication problems that we have going on today.
All I'm saying is that I have other things going on. I agree with you.
Yeah.
You might have to remind me, you might text it.
Don't worry.
Like 3 times. It's not, I heard what you're saying.
Yeah.
You remind me, keep
Okay.
on poking me about
Okay,
that.
this is important, this is really important right now, right now, we have the photo zone, that's coming in.
Okay.
Pat made up some new warning signs
Right,
that has a sheriff's department logo on it and the town logo on it.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm thinking, Pat, we should make it in that color.
we can make it any color we want, it's paper.
Right, that's what I'm saying,
I looked
I'm
at the
thinking
more
maybe
paper.
we should go ahead and approve that and print those right now. So that you can go ahead and put them on these people's cars.
So I can't speak on that or not speak on that.
Right.
This is outside of the meeting and the committee.
Right.
I definitely cannot speak on that.
Okay.
That should be done.
We already have, the only difference would be the color.
Okay.
Because people throw them off their cars onto Portola
They
Road.
were lime green at one stage.
Well, yeah, they were lime green,
They
we
were
changed the
lime
color
green.
from white to lime green, we did change it.
Yeah.
right?
It doesn't create preference,
Okay,
but, we're in it. There's no problem with us just printing those things out, everything's been approved.
I would
So what we
encourage
did, so, yeah,
you review your meeting minutes and review what was approved.
yeah.
Mhm.
and those
Review if that
things-
speaks on the specific
Yeah.
coloration of the paper.
right.
Right?
And then I'm gonna print up the lime green ones, it was no problem, right, Angela?
I don't know. Chuck has been working for us for a long time. He understands the town pretty well. I would. I understand. That's.
Well, that's not so true, Caroline, because he actually, Ed and I have went out with him, doing all the,
Mark?
willow. painting, yes.
Yeah, I did too.
Well,
Oh, yeah, we did, there's all kinds of studies we did, we did walking studies, and traffic studies, look at all this information, every intersection. I remember doing all this, I spent probably 150 hours.
Yeah, we
I know, and that's the study, but I have not seen the results.
Here's the results.
Yeah. These were passed by the town council, the presentation.
I think that's one of the issues we're encountering too, is that as you mentioned, as you guys mentioned. There hasn't been representation from Public Works and. Paul's doing the best he can, but apparently that's not his job. He's just a consultant,
That's right, that's right,
so he's
that's right.
paid to do this, and that's. Something you should see 100%.
Yeah.
But I'm also hearing that he hasn't been present during his meetings.
We haven't seen it before.
Yeah,
Well, I think
And
the
that's
reason
not
is that
necessarily-
he's been paid on retainer and nobody was his boss.
I'll look in.
I think that was,
I'm
that
not
was, that was
sure.
the concern. I'm not sure if that's true, but that is what I heard, that he was still being paid, just because it was
And then we think he should be at these meetings.
Yeah, when we voted him in, okay, we had 3 proposals from different companies.
Or for the flagship beacons.
No,
No, for the whole site, traffic study, we did a traffic study. We had 3, remember that, and
Yes,
3
yeah,
proposals for the budget,
We reviewed
Okay.
it very carefully.
we did. And Paul was the most reasonable and most thorough, all these other
And he
ones,
was the one who did the town.
yeah. These other companies, we're gonna bring in these guys from New York and all over the place, and they're very expensive.
I will say, there are criticisms, I hear that. My first job is to take care of anything that is actively a problem, so I can triage
Yeah.
the beacons. I will look into the other stuff, it might take me a while. I've got permits that are happening, I've got active road work, I'm sure you guys saw that there's 1 lane stuff went by.
Yeah.
My first priority is to triage whatever is already an issue. I will look into the other stuff, but I really do need to start to figure out what's happening and to try to understand how I can keep things good moving forward, and then I can look at what's happening moving back. I asked Paul to attend this meeting. I do not think that he should be in regular attendance. I think he should tell me. And that is my duty.
Yeah, and that's why Howard was here before, he'd come all the time.
30 minutes, an hour, if it's 3 hours.
No, you're gonna be first on the agenda.
If I fall asleep in the chair, don't be.
It's at 9:15 or 9:30. 9:30
We
is the
usually get
latest
out
we
of the
can go
budget
with.
earlier than this.
I'm not gonna walk out or anything, I'm just.
No, we won't.
But I want to tell you a couple of things. One is when we did this study, I helped Howard do the presentation, the proposal. And then also on the county committee that gives out the grants for CCAP, okay? So I am well aware of what the other towns put into their proposals. They're all on the public website. You can see anyone else's application and what they have done. And all the safe routes and everything. Sorry, complete street. I don't do places, but there are many CCAP committees that can give out grants through, the state gives to the county, and so that's the nature of applying for a grant. That's the nature of applying for a grant, is that there are all these different things and you have to figure where they all are. It's not going to just come from the Department of Education.
No, that's what I'm saying, but why are they not working together? Why are they all separate? They all have a different plan.
They
They
sort
all
of
have
try
their
to,
different
they sort
consultants.
of try to work together. I mean, you'll get somebody from MTC
Yeah.
talking to Caltrans or something.
State provides.
So, no, they just do that, and like at our committee, we have somebody from Caltrans, they come and tell us what they're doing, and then we'll have somebody.
If you would like to.
The Metropolitan Transportation Commission coming and telling us what they're doing. And the whole point of having them on the same Zoom is so they can hear what each one is doing. That happens,
Must remain.
I see all these specifics.
I'll get you guys.
Well, they all have to, see, each of
I
these
think a lot of
agencies have
problems
to try and
here
get
are
their
as
grants
simple
from
as.
the state or wherever they get. federal
You know,
grants.
the hardest thing for you,
So they,
is a town.
they're trying to get grants all the
That's
time too,
tough.
but they also have,
With
they're
everything
a
coming in, all
conduit
the
in a
money and
way
so forth.
of giving things. I mean,
And how do you enforce? Here's the first question I'm asking. How do you enforce it? There's signs all posted out for animals. Now they go rid of this episode of not like people put a red sign because it's fried.
That's why we are the proposal.
We have one guy who's gone planning here, then he's got.
We better take it.
So to go through code enforcement, basically, and say, hey, this is not, it's getting more, and there's a process in code enforcement. We are a small town, we are limited in staff, so there's a question of.
There's a mountain lion sign right up the street here. Yellow mountain sign right on Portola Road.
So,
One of the things in it about that is the utility.
do you mind, I think I've got your, I don't have your cell, but I have your email, so if you fly around. I was working on this late last night and I did not. I had it, I did all this put together, but I decided not to send you guys until 11 p.m. because I was concerned it might be you just slipping something in and lost.
It's at night, I work till about 1 AM sometimes.
I don't really, we were talking about with the signing. We had a lot about mine killed.
He probably knows about it.
Right, and we wanted to change the town sign. You know, it's like one of the big goals, we've got 2 town signs. And have them more inclusive, as far as what we're trying to do. So like, you know, it's for Tony Valley, because people over there, it's safe haven for wildlife, slow down, you know, we protect our monkeys, don't hit our lions. you know,
Turkeys, we have turkeys crossing Alpine Road every day.
Whatever we could do, to, you know, add humor, add attention, make it so that it's delightful, like if people are slowed down.
Yeah, we have a lot of deer, but it is your last.
So the fact is, you don't slow people down unless you have police enforcement or you have obstacles in the road.
Yeah.
Two methods passive to active, you have to have active enforcement, which is great, but that's also something that requires constant fun. And
Yeah.
ultimately, people, just the same thing as, you know, if a, you know, the kids aren't gonna listen unless there's somebody saying, please don't do this. And if you
You
stop
have to follow
enforcing
through.
it,
You have to follow. through.
exactly.
I'm in
My-
education, so I know.
You know exactly, yeah.
Principal.
My preferred method is to not place the cookie jar on the counter. It's to leave the cookie jar up high where the kids can't reach it. My preferred method is passive, which is traffic calming, but there's also concern that we're a rural community.
Yeah.
So we don't necessarily want a ton of obstacles and a ton of over improvements. So we're
Like
just starting to
Ladera,
just
you go down to Ladera, that's what's over improved.
It's just, it just, though, with pedestrian, it's the way they're.
So you don't even do it. Crazy. And the flashing red, because they don't work all the time, you know.
more of it. Or like even 80% of the speed.
How do we get the bicyclists back from stop?
Well, you. how do you
When we
sit
get that,
there?
we're all trying to,
So
Yeah.
instead of sitting
Hills
down,
is coming,
sit
how do
there.
they stop? They're not gonna stop, are they?
Maybe
They're gonna go
they
right through, you know? Well, that's a bad word, that's.
What to think of it, I think it's.
Oh, but we do have a consensus that we don't like speed bumps.
Yeah, yeah.
No.
We don't
no
want to delay any
consensus.
emergency.
Oh,
I
except
will
for
also-
her. She likes how, I know,
Yeah, with about
I'm
tables,
about
they have calming tables, I don't know if you guys know that, you know what a calming table is?
Yeah.
It's like a raised platform about 2 inches.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
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 but that,
I don't like the idea just because it slows down our fire truck.
yeah.
But it slows them down
But I-
so little, and, you know, the other thing is, you know, we know who the speeders are on the dikes. When you know, you look on Strava and it says it's going more than 35 miles an hour. You just write an email to all those people and say, we caught you speeding up, but and we know who they are.
So, yeah,
I
it's,
think you can do that. But you know, traffic circles or unobtrusive. It's not really furniture, but you know, things out there that just slow. There are unobtrusive ways of slowing traffic down.
You know, we had
It's a
an
big
app,
plan.
where we could, report them, I think the app's not supported anymore, right? You can't get that stuff, but I will tell you, going down, we're going to get hit on the head with our bikes going down Alpine Road at the moment by a tree that's coming over, and normally I would have just taken a picture and sent it in on the app and forwarded it outside out, catching it the next day, but I may have to go down with my computers. It,
it's still functional. You should be able to still use it.
yeah, okay, but if it's still functional, I will send a thing, because the tree is getting bigger every day.
Oh,
And
Yeah. TV Connect is still functional.
I just take my lockers out and lock the branch up, because, we
know-
go down every other day down. to the
Right.
branch.
I'm not gonna speak on that. I will say that,
That's right.
if you want to,
I will send
TV
it to
Connect,
you.
the website app is still functional. I'm to this way knowledge, I'm still getting things through there.
Okay,
Usually Scott or Justin, which are two facilities / public works guys, they're great, they do all stuff
yeah.
within
they're
the same
fantastic.
week.
They're fantastic, really.
One of the things, I know you're busy, but they have the corridor, I don't know, yellow tape. This is what Ed and I did last year on the Palooza, this Palooza coming up.
Okay.
We took this whole corridor and we did not let people park in that shoulder lane on either side, on only that side of the road, only that side. We took an hour and a half to get signs and put them all along there, right? They all park on this side of the road. So now you have, yeah, we have to do both sides. There's no two ways about it.
That was a conversation with Mark and,
And Justin?
Mark
Oh.
and who's the, I forget the name of the guy who's. No, the guy who's scoring the Palooza.
John Badger, John
John.
Badger.
That, yes.
Well,
actually,
John has so many other things to worry. He's not gonna worry about parking.
He's gotta worry about parking.
He has the bands coming in and out. He has 3 stages this year.
Yeah.
And they have like, I heard they have about eight catering companies. What do they
Yeah,
do?
where Kim is running the.
The trucks park right all over this park.
Oh, okay, oh, so that's parking that's
And that-
taken away from cars.
Yeah, and emergency vehicles. And if they have an ambulance, and a guy has a heart attack, it's gonna be tough.
Well, let's go, come on, guys.
Understand, this is number
These are
one.
not problems, it's all sitting here.
I tell you, the UK, you have a St. John's Ambulance park there already.
You went already, good idea. Fire department, whatever, right?
We need to, we need to. We need to make sure that, this how bad it is, this is covered. I don't think it wants to be, but, we don't want any bike.
I'll do the best.
Because that's a bike
I really
accident.
appreciate it.
Yeah, I just have to make sure that that isn't a private park. Because you know that the bicycles are coming down here, right? Everything. We had barrier, traffic barrier with signs, no parking. At night, last year, because we knew that.
And I appreciate what you also did there.
So I just volunteered for the Sequoia, the Sequoia is the next day. So I volunteered on the Friday, they want to rent a truck to buy all the racks for the bikes to put, how you have racks? So they want me to go to their storage thing and get the stuff on a Friday and park it here. I can park it in my driveway, the van, but I don't know if we need, I said, look, I've got 4 big water containers for Gatorade and stuff at my house. I've got a lot of that stuff. I can put it in my car. I don't know that I need to rent a van to do stuff.
Yeah, well, and I horse containers, if you need more catering containers.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. Anyway, I'm doing the rest stop at Christchurch. I'm not the captain of the rest stop. I just said I would open Christchurch at 6 AM to get tables out.
But you're down there.
They'll make tables and chairs out of their storage. We can just pull them out of Christchurch. We don't need to go all the way to their
that would
storage.
be great if you could get less stuff out of because
Yeah.
they do have those, the porta
The photo
potties.
photos,
That's a problem.
they put them in and they turn them
Turn
around.
inside,
so
the inside.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
use
So we could use them,
Nobody
but
can
they
use them.
take up a lot of room.
They do.
And
Yeah.
that
I'll
over.
do what I can. I'll do what I can.
We need to, if you say.
I
Wheelers.
I have to be careful
Whatever
what I.
you could do on that,
Because
just so
we both don't.
They
know
don't
what's going to exactly
before
look like,
problems.
right?
any cognizant
You know,
or not having
sometimes-
stuff on
Sometimes
there.
Yeah.
you say do
yeah.
things X,
And
Y,
then
Z, and
if
they
you
don't know
come
what's
up
this.
with Ed,
I'm gonna be
let
out
us
there,
know what
I'm
you
gonna
did
do this
last
stuff, yeah.
year.
We
And we'll try to,
We cordoned off that whole hallway.
I'm going to have to go to PB Forum right now and ask for volunteers to help with the parking.
So.
They're trying to
Yeah.
have.
Words are like, so. with the
Jerry,
purpose of
Jerry,
doing it,
my wife was
my
my first
mistake,
last year.
and
They gave
we
it to
discussed this,
someone
we have to
else.
put it in here.
see,
What's
I
being
don't,
delayed is the
I,
caustic stretch,
it
because that's
seems like we
specific
should talk to
contractor.
the.
For the plastic.
Yeah, that's.
John,
And see what they've done so far
Yeah,
with
yeah.
Do
parking
the stretch.
and see if we can
So
get
it's not-
on
it's the
board
literal
with
sharing,
them
it's not an
to
issue.
try to
That's
work
not
together.
what it's-
Because otherwise,
Well,
They're there.
it's still
It's
bar-
still- still bar.
Down there.
I'll contact them and see.
really,
Because we lost, apparently
That's
we lost
happening
that.
for about a
I
month.
was aiming for the.
yeah, that's what we
Yeah,
were.
right.
So, you know how it's going to be. Something they say, oh, I can't make it. Well, we lost you Davis. What day are you gonna come? And they say, you know, I'm going to make it in February, I'll be
It belongs
here.
to the town, it's
No,
not the mid-pen. Oh, it was the mid-pen field you're talking about,
Yeah.
but the other one next to the town.
Used to belong in town.
The one that popped the screen down. it's
Yeah,
not
well,
like
that's
it's-
town.
Okay, that's
And
town.
then we'll cut the grass, and we'll bring that people.
The grass.
But at the same
Okay,
time,
people with that, but it's up to that town manager to just say we can let the town sit. let the cars in.
Expiration date.
Our manager's not here right now, he's left.
I know, but I mean, they could say that,
So, so
I
anyway,
really.
even if it is open space.
so Ed, you were here last week.
See,
But
that's
anyway, so we need to put on the blue hour.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay.
Yeah. I'll see what we can do about it, because the signage is really important.
Yeah.
I
Every
mean, I
call.
had to run into Christchurch to get whiteboards to put out car park, because nobody had it, any, you know.
Right.
I mean, there are whiteboards, I guess, that the town has as well, right?
Yeah, they do have.
Yeah, because
So-
if we can put car park full, that stop, next car park is here, you know, and maybe give a map to parking.
Well, but that's, once again, we need, Palooza
Palooza.
needs to be the.
Palooza can put an online map of these, this is the car parking. They can put stuff on how to park, and if it usually puts how to park, right? And this way you can park.
If they're making
Things
this big of a
happen that's
deal on
been there,
they're using
apparently
this
there's a little
facility.
bit of. It's one of the ways I'm not
It's Doris Way,
Um,
and Johnson
It is gonna get
parking
really
is a
close.
big part of it. That's
Yeah, this is car park one.
I
Yeah.
don't think so. If I,
We could
if
call
it
these
becomes
things.
that I have to be, I'll try to be.
July,
It's a busy time for me, because I'm looking actually at the downtown area. So I'm moving them first. Right now, I'm commuting 4 hours a day.
Yeah, you're.
4 hours there. Down Daniel Almo, it's
Yeah,
in East Philly.
Yeah, so this guy is not gonna be over here
So-
Friday night, are you nuts?
I'll come over normal time, so I
Yeah,
will,
yeah.
once a month, no problem.
Right,
Come next month, starting next month, I'm going to be moving here locally. Because this is 5-year, 10-year, 20-year.
Right.
I like, it's a great position, I like the
It's a
town.
great
You
job.
like-
Yeah.
Yeah,
you like.
I mean, you love it, you love it.
Come next month, I'll be in Old Town Palo Alto area. But
But between now and then, we gotta give you a little.
it'll be a little, if I need to, I'll show up for the Palooza, but it's going to be, it's gonna be a long day.
You're not gonna want to do that. So how,
Nice to meet you.
Low priority, low priority.
we got you. Do we, how do I turn that off?
That's it.
I think, yeah.
Very good.
It'll go to sleep. will it?
Well, there's no way this meeting was.
Somebody make a water bottle.
No, it was there.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Great.
Yeah, that was there.
Excellent.
You know, one thing that Commons, you guys seen the Will Commons? I thought there would be more screening on there. It's more.
No, you wanted to make it like it used to be for the realtor's office as much as possible. So that it.
Yeah.
It's upset people.
I think it's all of them.
Yeah.
People who live there, who were betrayed, who were put them down. So, $1,000 to make this pay for paying on the road. You know, you throw $1,000 on the same spot.
Each guy or just San Jose? So there, this seems to be a conversation with the architect's record, basically understand. So their submittal process and whether it needs to be resubmitted or not has to happen. What it has to be what they want to do. Typically, I can tell you this, typically with HCI. This would be a discussion with a fire life safety officer, the FLSO, fire life safety officer. And inspector of record, the IOR. In this case, if it's just San Jose, that might just be, the San Jose's, fire department inspector. Depending on how they would like this presented, that will either warrant what we call amended construction documents, an ACD, amended construction documents, or a non-material alteration, an NMA. So the difference is, one is where you submit a form where it essentially says, we're just gonna do this small change. And it shows just a basic mark, might be blown up an area. Here's where we're moving the FTC to. Keep in mind, it has to be within the required maximum distance from a fire hydrant. So it has to be within, I think it's 150 feet, you know, the drawings should be made out with this, sorry, but I think it must be 150 feet. With that 150 feet required. Okay, so that might be, it's a conversation that needs to happen, or it's to happen with how the authority having jurisdiction would be willing to accept it, probably. It's probably gonna be a non-material alteration, so you just put a markup. Maybe the inspector himself will say, yeah, it's fine, just send me as-bills afterwards. One of those two. If it is, if the inspector or the state says we do want a full resubmittal, it would be an ACD or amended construction documents. Does that make sense? So yeah, so what it comes down to is that, we can help assist in this too, but ultimately this sort of thing is a construction management on the overall permit, and they can throw us, what to, but our scope isn't. They need to tell us what the discussion is, we can help them a bit, but it's ultimately not, like, they need to have a discussion with the Iowa. Yeah, so I would say it needs to be a conversation. Yeah, bring it to the architect. It ultimately comes down to is if it's an ACD, is it also within scope? Or is it a change order? Because it's if it's not in our scope, it is inherently a change. Okay. Okay, so that's up to you. I think I agree with what you're saying. It would likely be what we call an NMA, non-material alteration. It's a minor alteration. You can look up the form for it. Yeah. So that would be the style. If you want to follow the HVAC style, that's what it's going to look like.